Welcome. Guten Tag. Aloha. My name is Professor Robert J. King, and I would like to welcome you to lecture number 1, What is Religion? So what is religion? Religion is a term that is both modern and ancient. Religion is a Latin word originally, a Latin root, which is derived from the root ligare, which means to bind or connect. Thus, the Latin prefix re means to do again, and thus religare has the meaning of reconnecting or rebinding. So what is it that often ends up being rebound together? Oftentimes it's sports. For example, college sports. My alma mater, Davidson College, we usually make it to the men's Division I Final 64. And through sports, sometimes we sense the need to bind ourselves to each other for a common goal. Or if you're a baseball fan, I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, home of the 2008 World Series runners-up, Tampa Bay Rays. The euphoria, the joy of coming together in a common cause, being rebound, reunited. So in many ways, sports, supporting sports teams, is a lot like religion. For many, it is our religion. The English word religion has been used since the 13th century and is derived from the Anglo-French word religion, therefore demonstrating its Latin roots, that is, French as a derivative language of Latin. The reconnecting aspect of religion is a helpful term sociologically because it encompasses what the modern 20th century, 21st century now, academic field of religious studies seeks to comparatively analyze, namely the reconnection of some understanding of God or gods and human beings. Where religion is applied to non-theistic religions, that is Buddhism, that does not center its own self-understanding and notions of divinity, this reconnecting can be applied to other areas of human social and personal understanding to include enlightenment, morality, and reconnection with one's true self. The connection between divinity and humanity is obviously answered in different ways by different religions. For example, in Christian understandings of religion, divinity and humanity are reconnected directly through the figure of Jesus Christ, who is, according to Christians, both human and divine. In Islam, however, divinity and humanity are reconnected to submission to the will of God and adherence to God's commands. In other words, it's a type of moral code or legal code that you bind yourself to. Finally, in native religions, to include Native American and Native Indian Hinduism, various gods and even supernatural forces representing divinity are reconnected with humanity through a variety of ritual practices, adoration, and veneration given to creation. Mostly contrary to this linguistic etymological understanding of religion are several prominent modern theories. First, Sigmund Freud, who lived from 1856 to 1939, reduced religious experience to a childlike projection of fear, fantasy, delusion even, onto the adult thought world. Second, William James, 1842 to 1910, the father of modern religious studies, sought to create a new disciplinary approach which looked at the religious experience as raw sociological data that could be compared, contrasted, and typologized, basically put into categories. Third, Carl Gustav Jung, 1875 to 1961, a fellow practitioner of modern psychological method, theorized that religion was rooted in universal themes called archetypes: the sun, the moon, the water, the air, fire, that were common to the universal collective human psyche. Fourth, Claude Levi-Strauss, 1908 to 2009, sought to describe religious phenomena according to a linguistic philosophical theory called structuralism, in which all reality can be described according to universal linguistic structures that are instantiated within the various human cultures, societies, and religious traditions. Basically, what Claude Levi-Strauss was arguing was that language is very common in its structure. The basic terms we give to father or mother or food, water, that all of these are basic human concerns, so these basic human concerns are then used to describe religion. Finally, in reaction against the worst abuses of modernism, say mental illness as an explanation for religious practices, to include shamanistic trances, Native Americans going off on a vision quest, exorcisms, which were actually quite common throughout all Native religious experience. Michel Foucault, 1926 to 1984, utilizes structuralism in order to unmask the worst abuses of modernity, to include the creation of modern prisons, persecution of the mentally ill, etc. Therefore, although an originally Latin word, religion is a word that encapsulates a wide array, a vast array of human phenomena. So think, what is it that you're religious about? Is it college basketball? Is it Major League Baseball? Is it one's national identity? Is it God, gods, goddesses? What is it that binds you to some unseen force, to each other, and to your true self? Hello, welcome to lecture number 4, Buddhism. The path of enlightenment founded by Siddhartha, who is also known as Gautama, was first an improvement upon the samsara suffering of the native religious practices of India that Siddhartha first encountered. In the 4 passing sights of Siddhartha's excursion into his ordinary surroundings, he encountered an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and finally a sannyasin or wandering holy man. This encounter with suffering propelled Siddhartha to a life of renunciation in seeking enlightenment, and through following a path of moderation, finally achieved awakening while sitting under the Bodhi tree. By awakening for the Buddhist, it means that one understands the cyclic nature of suffering endemic to the human life cycle. The first noble truth of Siddhartha Gautama is thus that intrinsic to life itself is suffering, dukkha in Sanskrit, the original written language of India. The second noble truth is that suffering's cause is rooted in desire, trishna in Sanskrit, which can be best translated as thirst or craving. You literally crave after that which does not satisfy. The third noble truth is simple, namely that to end suffering, one must put an end to desire. The fourth noble truth is perhaps the most noteworthy, for through it, the extinguishing of desire, trishna, can be accomplished. Buddha saw that such an extinguishing of suffering as a primarily moral and ascetic form of self-regulation. You had to be rigorous in your asceticism, but not too rigorous. By following what is called the Noble Eightfold Path of moderation, suffering can be ended through desire being extinguished. Thus, the Eightfold Path is right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right work, right effort, right meditation, right contemplation. Intrinsic to Buddhist belief and practice, however, is an entire cosmology, that is, view of the universe, that is Hindu in origin, yet unique among the world religions. First, unlike Western worldviews in which matter, the stuff of the earth, the sky, plant matter, animal matter, has a definite form, substance and teleology, a definitive form. According to the Buddhist view, however, all this is cyclical and also rooted in emptiness, or shunyata. Second, like Hinduism that understands the soul to either ascend or descend the cycle of karmic rebirth, reincarnation, so also does Buddhism view the escape from samsara as paramount, yet unlike Hindu understandings of the soul, Atman, the Buddhist views the soul as not having its own individual existence, un-Atman, the absence of soul. And thus, when the human being dies, the goal within Buddhism is to achieve nirvana, which represents the extinguishing of the self and the end to reincarnation. Third, as the extinguishing of the self and the end of reincarnation occurs, so the Buddhist view of the self and of the cosmos is that no reality exists per se, but instead what is known as reality is in a state of constant flux, impermanence, and nitya in Sanskrit. and that the part of reality known as the soul does not exist in itself, but instead is simply the product of transient forces, material, etc., that have no truly personal existence, an-atman, or no soul in Sanskrit. Finally, just as the Hindu caste system, for example, the role of societal expectation that Prince Arjuna followed in the Bhagavad Gita, was in place to maintain social order and cohesion, so also does one's duty, dharma in Sanskrit, order the Buddhist belief system by affirming one's unique role in society. For the Buddhist, however, dharma also means the totality of the Buddha's teachings. Therefore, Buddhism is both an extension of Hindu concepts, a correction to them, equality rather than strict caste system, but most importantly, a unique innovation among world religious belief. Although raised in a Hindu religious system marked by samsaric suffering, with consequent birth and rebirth through reincarnation, the Buddha represented such a novel step forward in world religious thought that the system of Buddhist reflection that Siddhartha Gautama initiated has literally swept the globe, and especially has influenced the Asian cultures of Japan and China. Thus, although appropriate to begin historically with Confucianism and Taoism in studying Chinese religions, and Shinto in studying Japanese religions, given the historical influx of the Buddhist system of thought and morality, the Eightfold Path, Buddhism is perhaps a proper introduction to Chinese and Japanese religiosity as well. Just as the United States of America was at one time rooted in Native American spirituality, only to later be replaced by Christianity, so also were Japan and China, first founded in Shinto, Confucian, and Taoist thought and practice, but only to later be supplanted in many ways by Buddhism. What marks Buddhism in China and Japan, Mahayana, is a greater incorporation of Buddhist principles into daily activities ranging from tea ceremonies to sword fighting to calligraphy. In Chan Zen Buddhism, the state of enlightenment by which one understands the true nature of reality, that is, as it is rooted in emptiness or shunyata, is achieved through each of these activities and also through meditation, zazen, in which one is seated as if in the position of a lotus flower. Another way of eliciting insight into reality's true nature is through a poetic form of riddles called koans, riddles that are paradoxical and defy direct, explicit answers. For example, a koan such as, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Zhao Zhu said, wu. This answer is enigmatic because wu means literally no, but is also the sound that a dog would make, and thus would be an indirect affirmative answer of yes, as in woof woof.